Welcome to Money, Manifestation, and Business, the podcast that shows you how to use your energy, intention, and consciousness to reprogram your money mindset, unleash a new level of possibility, and create a life and business that lights you up. I'm your host, Jamie Berman, and I invite you to join me each week for a dose of inspiration, coaching, and teachings to help you rewrite your money story, create abundance on your terms, and grow your business in a way that's fully aligned for you. This is going to be so much fun. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the podcast, my friends. I am so excited for the episode that I have in store for you today because I am going to be pulling back the curtain on the mindset shifts and untraditional habits that I have stepped into over the past 9 years that have made the biggest difference on my money mindset and that have allowed me to call in multiple millions of dollars and really have made me a multi-millionaire, which is still kind of weird to say out loud. There's still a part of me that hasn't totally sank into that identity. Right? I was talking to my coach about it and I'm like, it's still kind of weird to say, but it's true. So I'm so excited to talk to you about that. Today, we're going to go through the 10 different things that have made the biggest difference. And it's so wild because if it sounds a little bit different today, it's because I am not in my normal podcasting studio. So as you've probably been listening to the podcast, you've been hearing about my move to Maui. And we are in the middle of it right now. So we are in the process of getting our LA house on the market. And that means we are going to get staging done this Thursday. And that meant that I had to move my office downstairs. They wanted to use what was my office and my podcast studio for a children's bedroom. So they're going to be staging it as that. So we moved downstairs into what was our movie room, which is now completely empty. And it's just all white walls. We got it all repainted. So it looks very white if you are watching from YouTube. And I do apologize if you hear a bit of an echo because we have like no padding, no carpet, anything like that. That's changing on Thursday once we get it staged. But for now, you'll have to bear with me, and I hope the information in here is worthy of a little bit of an echo. I really think it will be. But what I was wanting to mention is that in the process of clearing out my old office, which, wow, y'all, like, I'm telling you, blast from the past, reflection time, like looking back on how far I've come and what's happened in the past 9 years, because we bought this house 9 years ago. And that upstairs room has been my office ever since. So I was going through all of my old stuff, my journals, workbooks, different things. And I found some old money mindset journals from 9 years ago when I first started diving into this work. And I saw that I had all these little papers from this money book club that I hosted, which I did back in the day. Like whenever I first started this entrepreneurial journey with coaching, I decided I wanted to work on my money mindset. So I hosted a money book club just to hold me accountable. And with that, I saw all these different journaling prompts and this mindset work that I've done throughout the years on it. And wow, it's just amazing to see that goes so far. That inner work that you do will reflect in the outer. So honestly, anything you want to manifest, like the key is doing the inner work around it. Because wow, if I could go from just 9 years ago having $30,000 in debt, having horrible credit because I didn't want to look at my money. I avoided money and I kept missing payments simply because I was avoidant and my credit score was awful. And I was making like $7,000, maybe, yeah, I think at that time about $7,000 in my business a year. I mean, I had never made up until that point working, even whenever I was working for someone else, I'd never made more than $30K in a year. And to get to the place now where I have created multi-millions of dollars, like multiple millions of dollars, and created a business that has been very abundant and very sustainable and very enjoyable. And it's just amazing to see what that inner work reflects in the outer, right? And so that's what prompted and inspired this episode was I just wanted to talk about the shifts that I've made as I reflected back on all that inner work that I did. And I wanted to talk about the 10 different things that I believe had the biggest difference and allowed me to shift things in such a massive way. Because talk about a before and after, my goodness. And honestly, the truth is, if I can do this, anyone else who has this soul calling to work on your relationship with money, to create more abundance, you can do it too. Like, I just believe that deep in my soul, deep in my knowing that money and making money is a skill that anyone can learn. And that most of us has just learned about it in the wrong ways. We think it takes, doing these crazy budgets and restricting our money and hustling and working lots of hours and working really hard. That's what we tend to associate with money, but that is not what's going to create multi-millions. That'll create some money, but if you want to have a lot of abundance, it's going to be a lot of those internal shifts that makes the biggest difference. That is what's going to create the foundation of a millionaire mind. So without further ado, let's talk about it. Oh, one last thing. If you're watching on YouTube, which by the way, if you didn't know, my podcast is on YouTube. You can come follow me on Money Manifestation and Business on YouTube. We got Millie on my lap. So she's just very confused with all these moving parts of the move. There's no couch anymore in our house. Everything's moved around. There's boxes everywhere. She knows something's going on. So she's been very clingy. And I said, okay, fine, Millie, you can sit on my lap while I'm podcasting. I said, just be quiet. So if you hear her moan a little bit or snore, it's just Millie. Okay. So without further ado, let's talk about these 10 different untraditional habits and mindset hacks that have made me millions. Number 1, I made wealth welcome. And this is something I believe we must do so that we don't sabotage wealth, so that we don't sabotage money. Is we have to associate money with something positive. That's what's going to allow us to have and hold it. Because on a subconscious level, if you believe money is wrong, money is evil, it's for people who are greedy, it's going to make you a bad person, or if you associate it with something heavy that you're not going to be able to handle, you will sabotage success. You will sabotage money, or you will make money and then the minute you get it, you'll let go of it because you're not going to feel comfortable being someone who's wealthy, being someone that can hold it. So for me, I had to do the inner work to associate wealth and big money with something that is positive. And I'll tell you a couple of ways that I did that. Number 1, I started looking for expanders of people who are wealthy, who do really good things in the world, who are not something that I would associate as greedy, right? So I looked for people who are kind, compassionate, spiritual, loving, soul-centered, but also rich. And I saw that both of those things, all of those things can coexist. And I started looking at them as my examples of who I wanted to be. And I started learning that it is not money that makes you who you are, right? It can amplify who you are. But if you're a greedy person without money, you'll probably be a greedy person with money because there's lots of people who don't have money who are greedy, right? Greediness is just a characteristic. It's not money that makes you that way, right? Just like there's kind, compassionate, soulful, generous, loving people without money, and there's that with money. So what I started to do was I started to say, well, if at my core, and I just continue cultivating the compassion, the kindness, the love, the soul-centeredness coming back to myself, and I feel really rooted in that, who can I be with a lot of money? And I saw that I can actually do more good in the world with more money, right? So I started associating it with something that is positive, not something that is negative. And that has been something really powerful that's allowed me to hold more money, to have more money. And it's like the minute I get it, I don't just let it go because I associate it with something that is positive. So I made wealth welcome. And that was one habit, one mindset shift that made all the difference. The second one is I had a clear why. I had a reason that I wanted to cultivate wealth. I had a reason I wanted to work on my money mindset and create money, right? And initially, it was because I wanted to step into my power. I wanted to realize that I am a powerful creator and that I don't have to rely on others to create what it is I want to create. And I wanted to see that it is possible for me and that I can do it in my own way. So that was my first why, especially back whenever this was in I think it was 16. Yeah, 2016, when my husband and I, well, actually, we were just engaged at that point, but we wanted to move into a new house, which was this one 9 years ago. And we went to get the loan for it, and they denied me. They said, if Jamie's on this loan, you're not going to qualify for it because her credit's really bad. She's not making enough income. Like, it was like all of these things. It was like, well, it's going to be better if just you're on it, Josh. And I remember that moment hit me like a ton of bricks. I mean, I was bawling and I realized this is not who I want to be. This is not what I want for myself. And so I decided I was going to become a creator of money and I was going to learn how to fix this. I was going to get myself into a better financial place. So I had a strong why of why I wanted to do it. And that's evolved over time, right? Now my why really has to do with self-expression because I feel like I can do the things that my soul is called to do when I have money, right? When I have the money to do it. I don't ever want to say I can't do it because I can't afford it. I can't do it because, money is tight. And so my why has to do with self-expression, it has to do with living out my highest soul calling and being generous with money. There are certain things that I want to give to and be able to share with others. And so I had a strong why, and I still have a strong why, and it has evolved, right? So having that can be helpful. Like, why do you want money? Not just from an egoic place of like, I think I'm going to be worthy once I make $1 million, or I'm finally going to see myself as successful when I do it. That kind of stuff doesn't tend to work very well. Egoic desires, like, they are empty. And even if you get it with an egoic desire, it's going to feel empty when you receive it. It's not going to feel quite right. So you want to ask yourself from a heart-centered place, like, what would I do with money? What kind of good in the world could I do with it? Why would I want it? Maybe it's something like you want to support your children through college. Maybe it's you want to move somewhere and experience something, and it takes money to do that. Maybe you have something you want to give back to, right? So come up with your reasons why you want to create it and what you want to utilize it for. That's going to make a big difference. Now, the third one is this was a habit that I created, and I still practice this habit, which is I celebrated every flow of money, meaning every time money would come in, I would celebrate, and I still celebrate. Even if I find like a dime on the ground, I literally am like, thank you, universe. It is raining money. You are always coming to me. Look at how money comes finding me in the most miraculous ways. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I really just do this quick little gratitude intention. If I see a payment coming through in Stripe, I say thank you internally. It's an internal celebration that happens. And I do this with all money. So in the past, I used to only think that money was worthy of celebrating if I earned it. Meaning if I worked really hard for it, or if it came through my business, if it was something that was directly correlated with the output that I put out into the world. Well, that is something that I shifted, and I will tell you what, this shift has made me millions of dollars. This is your personal invitation to multiply your income no hustle required. Join me for the Money Masterclass series on June 18th through 20th. It's a free 3-day experience to help you shift into deeper alignment, expand your capacity to receive, and create more abundance by being more of who you really are. This is about wealth from the inside out, and it's going to be so powerful. You can get signed up at jamieberman.com/money masterclass series, or just click the link in my show notes and get yourself signed up. I cannot wait to see you there live. Now I celebrate all money, and I especially love to celebrate money that comes through with ease. Meaning, if I had an investment that ended up multiplying, I love to celebrate that. If I, for example, selling homes, right? If I sell the home and abundance comes through that, I celebrate. If my husband gets an unexpected check or an expected check, right? I celebrate that. We love to co-create with each other, and that's how we see ourselves in relationship is when he receives abundance, I receive abundance. When I receive abundance, he received abundance because we are in this together. So it's super fun. We see it as a co-creation, and I get to celebrate every time that my husband receives money because we see it as something that we're receiving together, and we celebrate that just as much as I would celebrate if I got a new client or something like that. So celebrating it all, right? The gifts, the refunds, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I wasn't going to have to pay anything for my taxes, or I got a tax refund, anything. Any kind of inflow, I highly recommend you celebrate because I'm telling you, what you appreciate appreciates. Lynn Twist taught me this. I did an episode a couple of episodes back on some of my favorite money books. And The Soul of Money is one of my favorites. And she is the one who quotes that, what you appreciate appreciates. And once I learned that, that's when I started appreciating all inflow, whether it's a gift, whether it comes in with ease. Doesn't matter. I celebrate it all. And I really, truly believe that is why my net worth has multiplied by so much. I love celebrating it all. No money is more worthy than others, right? Okay. Another one that really made all the difference is I stopped chasing money, right? This is a habit that I have cultivated where I no longer chase money because nothing chased. But right, look what happens when you're chasing something, right? Think of a dog that you're running after and you're chasing. What does it do? It runs away. It's not going to come toward you. If you're chasing something, it's going to run further away. So if you want to receive more money, you have to open your palms, open your hands, let yourself receive it. Stop striving so hard. Stop trying, because that energy does not create the most wealth. And I will tell you that firsthand because I have done it both ways for much of my life. Most of my life, I was in the striving, trying, hustling, working really hard, grinding. And yes, you can make some money from that, but you can't create true wealth from that place. So you really have to separate effort from money. And the reason we put effort out into the world or we give value or we share is because we are supposed to do that as humans. That is what lights us up. We are here to express. We are here to give. We are here to share. And yes, the more you do that, the more you will receive. But it's really helpful to separate it and do that without attachment and open yourself up to receiving more. Right? That will make all the difference. So again, stop chasing money because what is being chased does not like to come towards you. All right. The fifth one, this one's huge. This one, I think, may be the shift that made the biggest difference in my life is I rewrote my money stories. And that's what I saw when I looked back over these past 9 years at all of my journals and my past money journal. It was diving deep into my mindset around money and my consciousness. And it was the willingness to look at it and to question it and say, is this in alignment with what I like? Is this in alignment with my highest self? Because thoughts become things. What we believe, we end up creating. So if we think money is not for someone like me, or it's a lot of work to make money, or it's hard to make money in business, we will literally create that for ourselves. So we have to be willing to look at what is that, like get in there, look at what's in your mind, in your subconscious, and start to just look at it with curiosity, right? Observe it. And from that place of observing, that's when you are separated from it. You're no longer with it, and you can decide on purpose. Do I want to keep this way of thinking? Do I want to hold on to this for the rest of my life? Or do I want to shift it and create a new way? And in my program, the Money Manifestation Movement, we have an entire module on doing a money mindset audit. And that makes all the difference. When you are willing to actually look at it and answer those questions, it will be really revealing. And yes, it might be a little uncomfortable when you first start, but it is the key to more abundance, because you cannot create wealth while thinking thoughts that are not in alignment with wealth, that are not in the frequency of wealth. So I have done money mindset work consistently for 9 years. I did it pretty heavily for about 2 years, and that's when a huge shift happened. But I will tell you what, I really believe that was one of the main keys to all of this manifestation of wealth that has happened over these 9 years. And that's the work that I love to do as a coach, is to help support other people with that. And because I have gone on that journey, I can spot those beliefs in a second. Okay, the sixth habit that I leaned into was I invested in my mindset before I felt ready. Or let's just say I invested, period, before I felt ready, right? I would invest in my mindset. I invested in investments. Initially, before I had money, my main thing that I invested in was my mindset, because that's what started to actually create the wealth. Once I started doing the internal work, it started reflecting. Right. And then as I started creating wealth, I actually invested in other things such as real estate, such as, my retirement account and different things. Right. And so I would do it before I felt ready. And that is key, because a lot of times you're not going to feel ready. Your brain is going to give you all the reasons just to stay as is, stay safe, stay in the cave. But guess what? Our brain is wired to survive. Our brain is not wired to thrive. So our brain will scare us into staying exactly as we are. That is why I always say courage is the key to manifesting, because you got to take the leap before you feel fully ready. So when I hired my first money coach, I had no money. This was back when I was deep in the debt, deep in scarcity and all of the things, not making money in my business, or not making very much money in my business. And I didn't have the money to pay for it, but I knew it was necessary. So I literally took my car to CarMax, sold my car for $8,000, and I paid for my coach with that cash. Best investment ever, right? So I found a way to make it happen, and it changed everything for me. So I would say that is 100% something that I attribute to what I have created. And I'm so grateful for my past self for believing in herself, right? She had to believe in herself to do something like that. And I've done that a number of times, whether that was investing in different certifications or different things that felt right for me. The investments have paid off heavily, whether that was a mindset investment or other, financial investments that I made. Okay, number 7, to create wealth, I use 3-bucket method, which is a very intuitive method to building wealth. And I didn't actually even consciously know this is what I was doing. But as I was working with my coach, she was like, "Oh, it sounds like you use this approach with money." And she reflected that with me. And I was like, yes, this is actually exactly how I do it. Because I'm not someone who has a strict budget. I do look at my money, right? I don't avoid it. I'm looking at it. I'm conscious of it, but I'm not super strict with it. I don't do anything that is super tedious. but I do intuitively follow the 3 bucket method, which is having a portion of money that is for circulation, meaning it is for spending. Some of our money we are meant to spend. Circulating is a positive thing. We must circulate money to keep the flow going. So I circulate a certain amount of money. I have a certain amount of money is the second bucket, is an amount that I like to keep, right? Whether you call that savings or keep it in like a high yield savings account, I like to keep a certain portion of my money in a high yield savings account. So that's what I call having, right? That's the other bucket. And as an entrepreneur, I like to keep that in reserves. That way, if I want to take a break, or if I intuitively feel like there's a time where I want to shift or I want to slow things down or whatever, I have a reserve. And the important thing with that is to decide on purpose what you want in there. I think a lot of people say, I don't have any money. I don't keep money in my, I don't want to call it savings, but high yield savings, or I don't have any money. And the key is to decide that you want it and decide how much you want in there. And then from there, work towards it little by little. And that is exactly what I did. So I have a certain amount of having money, and that's in a high yield savings or money market. And then I have a portion, the third bucket is the money that I'm multiplying. And that is money that I put in investments. So again, early on, the investments that I made were in my mind, in my consciousness, in the inner work. So I invested in coaches. I invested in certifications, things that allowed me to do inner work, retreats, things like that, books. That's a huge one. Like I saw that as something that was multiplying my wealth, right? And then since doing that, I still invest in that. But now that I have more overflow, I invest in the other things now. And so there's always those 3 buckets that I'm conscious of, is the circulation, the having, and the multiplying. And I usually decide how much do I want to have circulating, how much do I want to have for having, and how much do I want to put towards multiplying. And I know like in the beginning, a lot of times it feels like all you're doing is circulating, but you can really start small. Decide that with every bit of money that you make, you put 1% of that towards having, and then put 1% of that towards multiplying, right? And that can make all the difference. Okay, number 8, in terms of mindset shifts and habits, is I normalized big money. This is huge. In fact, in the money manifestation movement, we spend an entire month, the month of August, on normalizing big money and really stepping into the identity of being someone who is an energetic match to big money. Like you and big money, yeah, for sure. I had to do this work too in order to get to the place that I'm in now. So I would go to places like Beverly Hills, and I would go to Rodeo Drive, and I would literally sit at the Starbucks there, and I would look at the wealth, and I would say, I belong here. I belong here. Okay, this might not be my circumstance right now. I may not have the same money that they have, but I belong here. This is normal. What if this is normal? I'd go in Saks Fifth Avenue and just like window shop, but I would look at things. I said, what if I could buy this one day? Like, this is going to be normal for me. This is normal. I belong here. And I would just get myself into the energetic state and talk to the people that work there and things like that of like, this is me. I'm a match for this, right? So I just started normalizing big money, and it is helpful when you learn from people who have big money, surround yourself with people that have big money, or even just learn from the mindset of someone who has big money, right? So that's why I'm always studying people who have a lot of money, because I'm like, I want to normalize that mindset for myself. So I've read lots of books on that as well. And that became a conscious habit of mine to normalize it and to remind myself that I belong there, that even though those weren't my circumstances at the time, in fact, my circumstances were far from it, I just decided I belong. I'd drive around in neighborhoods that I liked, and I'd be like, oh, I could buy this house one day. This is normal. This is going to be me. This is going to be my neighborhood, right? And then eventually it became the truth. Okay, 9th habit this is a biggie. I followed my intuition. I swear your intuition is going to be your biggest money maker. I think this is what so many people don't realize. We think that we need to rely on outside experts and that there's another way of doing things and that it's outside of us. But honestly, your intuition is going to be your biggest moneymaker, especially when you do this inner work around money and you clean up any of the thoughts that tell you you can't have it. And when you start seeing money as a positive thing, your intuition will start guiding you. So that has been my biggest moneymaker, is just following the nudges, intuitively deciding when I'm ready to sell a home, for example. The house that I sold, the last house, I'd had a house in Venice Beach, and when I just knew it was right to sell it at that time. And we sold the house, made $1 million on that house. And I will tell you what, that house has not gone up in value in years since then. It has not gone up at all, right? In the area that we ended up moving to, it went up by tons of money. So I've always followed my intuition and these nudges, and it's paid off. And I also believe that not every single thing is going to pay off, but it's all going to even out, right? So other intuitive nudges that I've had maybe haven't had the same payoff, but I always think that overall I come out ahead. So I'm always following the nudges and the instincts because it has paid off for me for the most part. All right. The 10th one is I access the quantum field. And I know this sounds woo, but y'all are with me if you're listening to this podcast. But I swear, through meditation, mindset work, connecting with the version of me who is wildly abundant, that has made all the difference. It's not always looking at current circumstances to dictate what I believe, to dictate who I am, to dictate who I'm becoming. I started accessing my future self in the quantum field and started getting advice from her. I started seeing that version of me, knowing that was what was happening, and it made all the difference. So meditation, coming back to yourself, getting grounded in source makes all the difference. So those are my 10 different mindset hacks and untraditional habits that have allowed me to create multi-millions of dollars. And I'm excited for you to dive into this because I will say it again, making money is a skill that anyone can learn. It's just probably going to be done in a way that is non-traditional, and by leaning into this inner work first and creating a foundation for the wealthiest version of you. All right, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I am so excited for you to call in more wealth, because why not? All right, I will see you next week on our next episode. Hey, thanks for listening. I hope this episode is something that you'll be able to add to your manifestation toolbox to come back to when you need a little extra motivation. If you like what you've heard today and want to take it deeper, you've got to come check out my signature coaching program, the Money Manifestation Movement. It's the place where you'll not only learn manifestation, but you'll begin to live it alongside me and an amazing community of like-minded entrepreneurs doing this work together. Head on over to jamieberman.com to learn more.